Welcome into this special edition of Fourth Down. It's been a season 43 years in the making. Finally, a franchise known more for paper bags than playoff wins has earned the right to host the NFC Championship game and took advantage of that opportunity. The dome field advantage coming through tonight as the New Orleans Saints take down the Minnesota Vikings and will head to Miami to play in the Super Bowl. In this edition, we'll hear from the head coach. We'll hear from the players. We'll bring in Jim Henderson. We'll bring in Juan Kincaid. Everything from top to bottom of the Saints' biggest win you can see right here. Here's how it started tonight at the Superdome. The NFC Championship game between the Vikings and Saints. And it didn't look good early. I'm not sure if he knew that it was the kick that would send the Saints into overtime and make him a city legend in the process. 31-28, the final score from the Superdome. The Saints are headed to Miami for their first ever Super Bowl. Drew Brees' numbers, not that impressive. The three scores were, but Garrett Hartley's only field goal attempt of the day, the biggest of his career, and like we said, it sends the Saints to the Super Bowl. Jim Henderson, voice of the Saints and Channel 4 sports director, joining us now live, and we could probably talk ad nauseum about this, but really the transformation of Garrett Hartley. He really came on strong last year, given a chance to win the job, runs into a little trouble by making some poor decisions, and then we talked about it earlier. Maybe the one decision that always hung over Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis's head, getting rid of the kicker. And now it finally comes back to the guy who finally replaces Carney, and he's sending him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Sean has said in the past, maybe we've got our kicker for years to come. The kid's only 23 years old. And to do what he did, having overcome the 4-game suspension early in the season, the miss against Tampa, which he said he learned from, the Saints were not at their sharpest tonight. Drew Brees, you mentioned, certainly wasn't at his sharpest. And we remarked up in the booth, I mean, this is the biggest game of everybody's life. And in overtime, Drew wasn't exactly throwing the ball with great authority or accuracy. Marcus Colston had a couple of drops that he might have caught. Even Robert Meacham, that catch that they looked at a second time, he bobbled it. I mean, there were a lot of nerves up there, and for good reason. And for Garrett Hartley, that's usually what kickers do. They come in and they're the hero or the GOAT, and Garrett Hartley is the hero tonight and will be through immortality through what he did tonight.
You talked about the Saints offense playing a little tight. They seemed to be constantly bailed out by that opportunistic Saints defense. You look at the yards. They gave up a ton. They were on the field forever, although they never set foot on the field in overtime perhaps. Maybe a little ironic there. But guys that really helped make things happen. Darren Sharper, here he is after the game.
Heading back to the Super Bowl, tell me how this feels.
Man, it's hard to describe it. I still have goosebumps, butterflies, but I'm excited. This is a great celebration right now, but our business isn't finished. It's a different type of trophy we want to get, but the way for us to get there, we had to win this game, and this is the type of conference championship game you want to play, and you had to earn it. Minnesota came out and played extremely tough against us, but the fans just carried us through and gave us that extra energy for us to pull it out at the end.
Here with Deborah Henderson. Well, you've been with this franchise a long time, and everyone's saying wait till next year, and next year is this year.
It is. It's a blessing. We put in the work, and it paid off. We got to where we want to get. Now we got to go and capture what we want.
Back here with Jim Henderson, I'm Scott Cody, and I think that they kind of summed it all up. This is a team that really from the get-go, and in training camp, and you saw it, this was expected for these guys. As much as maybe it was such a far-fetched dream for the New Orleans Saints to be in the Super Bowl, I truly believe that all these players thought this is where they were supposed to be.
And they had such a great mix. I mean, there's a window of opportunity, and Darren Sharper's probably at the upper end of it. Drew Brees is probably right in the middle. Reggie Bush is at the early part. But you have to have a confluence of people that have enough youth and enough experience to pull this off. I mean, if you're too young, you don't win. If you're too old, you usually don't win. Drew Brees talked about the window of opportunity he had as he turned 31 a couple of weeks ago to do it now. Darren Sharper, the urgency to do it now. He did 13 years in the league. How much longer will he play? A lot of people thought he wouldn't play, wasn't willing to play or ready to play this year. So the window of opportunity was open for this team. They had the right confluence of youth and experience. They had great leadership on both sides of the football. Jonathan Vilma, Darren Sharper, Drew Brees. Pierre Thomas is one of the most overlooked and underrated running backs in the NFL.
On Payton, you mentioned bringing in Greg Williams. You mentioned going after a couple of these free agents. he's matured as a head coach. He realized what he had to adjust and what he had to do as far as becoming an NFL head coach. And I think that it says a lot to him, because all of these guys have egos. Don't let them fool you. And when you get to this level, I think you all have to have egos. He backed off a little bit, brought in a guy with another big ego in Greg Williams, and then but constantly you saw it. The New England game, the Jets game, all of these big games. He never let his team get too up, and he always seemed to have the right motivational ploy for these guys.
And when he first came in, he set the tone by taking the team up to Jackson, Mississippi, and probably wore his football team out, but he got their attention, and he broke them down and then built them up, just kind of like you do with people that are in the military. This year, he knew he had a veteran team. He knew he had a team that was in good shape. Moving back to New Orleans and the opportunity to train inside through much of preseason as they did contributed to some of the health that this team enjoyed, and that was one of the secrets to success.
You know, we would have talked about that double reverse for a long time had this game maybe gone another way, but Sean Payton can put that one under the rug, and after the game, probably one of the happiest guys in the entire building.
Real quickly, you know, it's hard to come up here and really talk about the significance of this group of guys in that locker room and the significance of this win. I'm proud of them, proud of our fans and the hard work that they put in to get us to this spot, and it's a pretty special feeling. So, any questions right now?
Sean, two questions. First, your feelings on your position right now, and second, your thoughts on how your defense played today. They bailed you out a few times.
They sure did. You know, there's a lot of momentum shifts in that game. It was a heck of a game. I just told them there's a little fleur-de-lis up there right between both uprights, and I said, why don't you see if you can hit this fleur-de-lis dead center, and you know, you belong, you're here for a reason. And you know, he hit it true, and he's just been real consistent for us, and you know, obviously it was a big kick.
Sean, can you talk about a little bit of perspective about what this means for this organization, from how far you've come since Katrina to where it is now, and why it's so hard for you to put into words what this means to your team?
Well, it's hard. You know, 4 years ago there were holes in this roof, and you know, the fans in this city and this region deserve it, and like I said at the beginning, I'm just proud to be a part of it, you know, and to be part of something that's special, and it's pretty special for the city, and they're well deserved.
Along those lines, Sean, there's so much bedlam and just life going on outside right now. Can you compare that to 4.5 years ago and just the difference?
It's just, you know, there's a handful of coaches and players that were on that first team, and you know, I would say this to the players and the coaches that aren't here now, they're just as much a part of this, and they know who they are. I can't go through every one of the names, but there are a lot of people that came when no one else was wanting to come, and a lot of coaches, a lot of players that aren't with us now, and I appreciate it.
Can you talk about the fourth down decision in overtime? If you don't make it, they got to shoot. Just talk about that.
I'm trying to think of the call. Did we go for it? You know, we were right on that. We weren't close enough for a field goal, and we just kind of called everyone over and said, hey, look, you know, we've come this far. I thought, you know, obviously it's a great defense we played, a great run front we played, and, you know, we ran behind those two guards, the tackles. Goodwin and Pierre did a great job of just getting the 1.5 yards we needed. It's significant. He's a big factor, you know, that thing went back and forth, the game went back and forth, and you know, I'm glad we came out on the winning end.
Coach, talk about Pierre Thomas overall. On a close game, did he provide the margin for you?
Well, he played hard. You know, he battled. I thought the screen play early in the game to answer their touchdown was significant when they went up 7-0. It was kind of like last week, and he made a bunch of big plays. And he's been a big part of what we've done, so I'm happy with the way he played.
What about the kickoff?
I didn't hear the question.
Tracy Porter's interception, what were they trying to run there, and what was Porter's answer to that?
You know, I'd have to go back, and it's kind of a blur right now, to be honest with you. You know, I know this. We came up with the turnover margin, I think pretty significant, 4-1, 5-1. And credit Minnesota, really, 5-1 and to win by a field goal, you know, that's unusual. And like I said, the one specific play, though, I'm struggling with.
Sean, can you talk about your defense overall? I mean, you guys made
And Jim, we were talking about that, exactly what Sean Payton said. With his team so often, you get caught up in looking at the statistics and what Drew Brees did and how many rushing yards they had or didn't have sometimes. These statistics throw them out, except for the one that seems to always creep up in big games, and that's turnovers.
Taking care of the football. It's what everybody says. What'll be the key to the game? Well, taking care of the football. Taking care of the football was the key to the game.
You heard that quite a few times.
I've heard that a lot of times. Taking care of the football was certainly the key to this game. These are the statistics that Greg Williams loves. You know, total yardage means nothing. Time of possession is so overrated. It's keeping people off the scoreboard, and you do that by forcing turnovers. I mean, you look at the third down conversion rate. The Saints couldn't stay on the field, couldn't get off it many times defensively, but they came up with big plays, and they took the football away 5 times, gave it away just once, and that was the key to the victory.
And one of the guys who recovered one of the many fumbles that the Vikings had was Scott Fujita. Juan Kincaid caught up with the Saints linebacker.
2006, this team falls a game short. In 2010, this team finds a way to get it done and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a pretty special night. You know, I'm still short for words to describe, you know, really how it feels, but it doesn't get much better than this.
You've gotten a pretty good understanding. It's done a lot of growing in the last year, haven't you?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we are battle tested. We've been through a lot. And again, I keep talking about the culmination. Tonight was the ultimate culmination. I mean, to come together on this night the way it did in the biggest game in franchise history here in New Orleans in front of these people, and now to have the honor to represent the people of New Orleans in the Super Bowl, it doesn't get any better than that.
Thanks, Scott.
That was Juan Kincaid with Scott Fujita, and I thought another interesting point, considering how physical both of these defenses were, and the defensive line of Minnesota coming in, not a single sack in this game.
Well, they did credit one to Minnesota of Drew Brees
on a fumble,
yeah. But that was the only sack in the game. You're right, and that's another statistic that that probably gets blown out of proportion is sacks. More important is pressure and physicality. In this game, very much like the Arizona game, Saints only sacked Kurt Warner once last week, but early in that game, Scott Fujita got to him on a delayed blitz, hit him hard. Bobby McCray, we all saw the hit that he delivered, and it was the same thing tonight. They never sacked Brett Favre, but they made him feel their presence early in that game and pretty constantly throughout the game with some major hits. If he thinks about retiring, it'll be some of those blows that'll probably push him over the edge.
We talked to Bobby McCray earlier and said, you know, you took one 40-year-old out, you're going to take another one. He almost did tonight, and he said as he was walking off the field tonight, tell the refs to take it easy on me. He didn't like the fact that he got the personal foul penalty on one of those calls. You can take it easy for a little bit. Fourth down's going to take a break, but when we come back, much more of the Saints' biggest win in franchise history. Stay right there. Welcome back into this special NFC Championship game, post-game edition of Fourth Down. I'm Scott Cody, joined with the voice of the Saints and Channel 4 Sports Director, Jim Henderson, who's just on an absolute cloud right now, as are most New Orleanians and, of course, the New Orleans Saints. And as you looked at this offense, and we've talked about it, again, is the stats that weren't there, but the main stat was the final score at the end of the game. But I think guys that really personify what makes this team so special to this entire community are guys like Lance Moore. Not big numbers, fought his way from the practice squad to a starter to have a huge season last year. Injuries kind of derailing him this year.
Only got a chance to catch one ball tonight, but who's to say he won't be a factor in the Super Bowl? Guy that led the team in receptions last year when Marcus Colston was injured much of the year. A great guy who has come back with 2 weeks to work with Drew Brees, and now maybe at full health, perhaps he'll be a factor in Miami.
He definitely can be exciting. Juan Kincaid caught up with him after the game.
It's been a long long time this franchise has talked about getting there and getting there and getting there, and now they finally gotten there.
It's a dream come true, man. You know, and this is the reason why we play the game, to, you know, try to become a champion, and you know, you do whatever you can to put yourself in this position, and you know, we're going to Miami, and you know, we got to win one game.
It wasn't the perfect game by any means, especially what's going through your mind.
Man, that's the biggest kick in the history of this organization. It's not just the biggest kick of the year, man. I mean, that pressure situation like that, you know, you need somebody you can count on, and you know, he saved us.
Yeah, I talked to GM McAloomis. He said, you know what, Juan, we have grown up so much in a year. A year ago this time, this team would have found a way to lose this game.
Yeah, I mean, those are the type of games we lost last year, and for one reason or another, you know, we won a lot of those games this year, and unfortunately for us, we won this one today.
Going to the Super Bowl, can you say it and not pinch yourself?
It's crazy, man. I can't wait.
Juan Kincaid with Lance Moore, and you know, someone who might want to pinch themselves now that it's finally over, because it was pretty tough sledding there during this game, was Reggie Bush. You know, the huge week last week, the huge postseason in 06, and he muffed that punt, which really could have cost the team. But I liked what Sean Payton did when the Saints get the ball back, and they give him the ball two times in a row to kind of make sure that that's out of his memory.
Yeah, and Reggie's another guy that could explode in Miami, but that's sort of the kind of player Reggie is. You never know exactly what you're going to get from him, and sometimes in big games he tries too hard, and I think that's what happened tonight.
He called today the most, not excruciating, but definitely the most difficult game he's played in. Here was Reggie Bush after the game.
I mean, I've never seen a field goal look so pretty. You know, Gary Harley, you know, him being a rookie, a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but he stood up to the plate and he made it count when we needed it the most.
How tough was it for you to stay focused after losing that fumble on that one?
No, it was tough, just because of the type of competitor I am. You know, you never want to hurt your team like that, but you know, it's true that this is a team game. It takes all 53 guys to win the game. Defense got the ball right back for us, and a couple more times in the second half, and you know, helped us get to the Super Bowl right now.
You've scored every postseason game that you played in. What do you feel about your performance just on the
you know, it is what it is. You know, whenever I get a chance to make plays, I try to do the best I can and not hurt my team. You know, I just was fortunate enough that Drew saw me and
position, have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So, you know, everybody's confident, everybody's happy, everybody's excited, and I know you're excited also.
Will Smith perhaps a little upset that he wasn't able to be called a Pro Bowler this year. I think he'll take NFC champion and Super Bowl bound New Orleans Saint. Jim, before we go to break, I want to give you a chance to kind of reflect. You've got so many thoughts and you've said so much already, but a chance to reflect on something that you've been a big part of, and something that I think a lot of people really like to hear your thoughts and what you have to say on something. Can you put this day and what this means into words?
I remember after they won the first playoff game against the Rams, going home and sitting in front of my fireplace and just looking at the fire for about an hour and thinking, you know, I was really part of something really special tonight. This hasn't really sunk in for me yet. I think probably in a lot of ways it hasn't sunk in for a lot of these fans. But this is something they'll remember the rest of their lives. Kids who watch this game at home or listen to it on radio will remember this game for the rest of their lives, and they've become Saints fans. It's in their blood now. It's always been in our blood, but it's in their blood too. I just think it was an extremely special night, an unprecedented night, and it was a privilege to be a part of it.
Oz Hakeem dropped the ball. Garrett Hartley made the field goal. You've been a part of it all, and we appreciate you joining us tonight, Jim.
Thanks, Scott.
All right,
It was a
get
thrill.
home safe.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you in Miami.
Okay, looking forward to it.
All right, stay with us. Much more Fourth Down after the break. Well, a couple of years ago, the last time the Super Bowl was in Miami, it could have been the hometown kid against the hometown team. Chicago, though, had something to say about that. Fast forward 4 years later, and it will be Saints versus Peyton Manning and the Colts in Miami. Here's how the Colts got there today. Hosting the dark horse New York Jets, Peyton Manning and the Colts trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 4 years. 3-0 Colts early with the lead, but Mark Sanchez changes that. Hits Braylon Edwards on an 80-yard pass and catch, 7-3 Jets. It's now 7-6 Jets. Sanchez, not playing like a rookie today, finds Dustin Keller, 14-6. Jets on top into the half. This was a huge play. Manning drives his team down, hits Austin Collie for the touchdown and the momentum heading into half. 17-13. New York starting to see that lead dwindle away. All Colts in the second. Peyton to Pierre Garçon. Touchdown Colts. They take the lead and they would not look back. 30-17, the final from Indianapolis. Peyton Manning, 377 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. The Colts, torched a Jets defense that had surrendered just 28 total points in 2 previous postseason games, overcoming an 11-point deficit to punch their ticket to Miami.
He's just one of those guys that, he's a great player with a lot of poise and confidence, and he performs well. Probably the biggest thing is that he performs best in the most difficult situations. We're facing as fine a defense as we faced all year, and he takes his game to the next level. That's something that I think, we've grown accustomed to counting on around here.
We are glad to have an opportunity to be going back. It's a tremendous opportunity. We're going to be playing a great team. And I'm really glad we have 2 weeks to get. I don't know how they've ever played this thing the week after the championship. We're a little mentally. I am at least. I'm mentally tired because of what we went through preparation-wise for these guys. So need some time tonight really to get over this one and get ready to prepare for who we're going to play next.
Not quite sure you could script it any better than this. Super Bowl 44 in Miami. The New Orleans Saints against New Orleans' own Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts. Don't forget, by the way, you can watch that game and all the build-up that precedes it right here on Channel 4. Don't go anywhere. We wrap up this special post-game edition of 4th Down when we return. (31-28) the final here from the Superdome. The Saints are headed to the Super Bowl. Believe it. Before we leave, you want to say thanks to everyone that helps make all this stuff possible. Jim Henderson and Mike Haas for holding down the fort. Juan Kincaid for his hustle. Our photographers, Garland Gillen, TJ Pipitone, the guys in the truck, Bob Reichert, Mike Milan, and our guys back in the studio that really don't get enough credit, Adam Ney and Danny Rockwell. For everyone else that makes this show work, we had a great time doing it. We'll see you in Miami.
It's a new video that's into the newsroom. We have raw video. We're going to roll it. You got a monitor there to look at it. Kind of talk us through what you see there and the feelings that were happening. This is from our guys.
Sure, this is Garrett Hartley's game winner. Obviously going to go down as one of the greatest moments in Saints history, in the history of this city. The game-winning kick that puts the Saints in their first ever Super Bowl. Absolute pandemonium. I cannot express how loud it was in the Superdome. Our photographer, Alvin Moore, sprinting out onto the field. I thought the fans were going to storm the field. They had so much security there to keep people back. It was a tremendous moment. I've never heard the Dome that loud. Just a fantastic moment. It's going to rank right up there as one of the greatest moments of all time in Saints history, if not the greatest moment all time Saints history.
Now, Camille, you said talk you guys through what we were doing. At this point in time, I was holding hands with our field producer, Donnell Jackson, because I said, let's hold hands and pray, because I did not know what was going to happen at this moment.
It's so emotionally driven. Yeah, you can see the emotion.
Yeah, you can. Definitely.
sights and sounds of
You've been
victory.
looking and listening to the pandemonium on the field that our photographer Alvin Moore shot. You know, you see what it's like. He's running around trying to get all the video, and some of those shots aren't the prettiest shots in the world, but then you see the raw emotion and the guys hugging, and you see how great it is, you know, to be right there with them. And I know he was getting pushed around being there with them. This is obviously after the game, everybody hugging Scott Fujita, Jonathan Vilma, Coach Sean Payton on the podium, Drew Brees, you know, a round of hugs for everyone.
And this raw and edited video definitely gives fans a chance to see, not only, as Fletcher Mackel said, the raw emotion of Sean Payton. You see General Manager Mickey Loomis and owner Tom Benson, his lovely wife Gail, his granddaughter, and a part-time owner and Executive Vice President Rita Benson LeBlanc. There's Deuce McAllister. There's Chris Meyer from Fox Sports. You get to see all that raw emotion, but you also see how difficult it can be for a photographer down there. You see all the cameras in there. Everyone is trying to get their shot. So kudos to photojournalist Alvin Moore for the tremendous job he has done this entire season with shooting Saints football, and also with getting these great candid shots after the game. You know, I want to give everybody a couple of interesting stats, if you will. Earlier in this post-game show, I mentioned that this will be the first time two top seeds have met in the Super Bowl since 1993. The last teams to meet as top teams in the Super Bowl were the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. Dallas came out on top, so hopefully another NFC team will come out on top. Also, this is the first time a Greg Williams defense has actually beaten Brett Favre. Brett Favre may not have fared well against a Greg Williams defense, but this is the first time a Greg Williams defense has beat Brett Favre. Brett Favre is now 4-1 against a Greg Williams-led defense. Also, this crowd today in the Superdome was the largest crowd to ever see a game in the Superdome since 1979. So all kinds of interesting things coming out of this game. And, of course, the biggest stat of all, the Saints are making their first ever trip to the Super Bowl in franchise history.
That's right. There's team owner Tom Benson, owned the team since 1984, has never had this kind of success. This is something new for him, for this city, for all these players, but they really seem to have put the right players and the right coach in charge as far as football operations go. Sean Payton came here with a vision. He has stuck to it, and he has definitely brought the right people here, and the success that they have achieved is just absolutely mind-blowing. And Sean Payton, after the game, his words to the fans were tremendous. Here, there was no one leaving their seat. Everyone was here to watch the Saints win this championship.
What an incredible night.
One of the things, that's right, Norman and Camille. It was an incredible night. What was it like in the newsroom? I know sometimes you guys can get really, really loud in the newsroom when you're watching the game, because I've watched those away games in the newsroom before, and sometimes if there's something going on set, you got to tell the people in the newsroom to be quiet. So what happened?
It erupted. We were screaming and hollering and clapping and cheering and, you know, everything that you can imagine. It wasn't quite as loud as the Superdome, obviously, but we did our fair share. We held it down over here, and you know, it was just an amazing experience. I think for everybody here, everybody who's able to witness what's happened here, to see that machine of a team work the way it did tonight is not only historic, but it's heartwarming, and it's inspirational, and it means so many different things to different people. So, you know, after that, everybody has a moment. Everybody has a moment.
Guys, what does this footage tell you? This raw emotion, what does it tell you about how these guys feel about each other?
You know, I have two thoughts on that. My first thought is it says that these guys truly are a family, and they truly, genuinely like to be around each other. You hear a lot of people say that about football teams and about sports teams in general, but the reality is sometimes the guys don't get along. They're different personalities. But as we talked about in our Acme Oyster House Saints on 6 Championship Sunday pregame show this morning, the offensive linemen go out to eat together. The defensive linemen go out to eat together. The defensive back, all of these guys do something every week as a show of solidarity and to show how much togetherness there is. The second thing that strikes me when I see this emotion is while they are happy, there is a sense of we are not finished yet, and we're not surprised we're here. We deserve to be here. A lot of the guys we talked to this week says that they feel like one of the biggest differences between this year's NFC Championship team and the NFC Championship team that went to the title game 3 years ago was no one really expected them to get there. They were kind of new at being there. They weren't, not sure that they didn't deserve it, but since no one expected them to be there, no one necessarily expected them to win. This year, they expected to win. They knew they deserved to be here, and that's why they came on top 31-28 over the Minnesota Vikings.
You know what I love? I had a chance to be on the Superdome turf when LSU won both of their national championships against Oklahoma and against Ohio State, and I thought one of the best moments I had a chance to witness was last year at Omaha at the College World Series, taking a victory lap with the LSU Tigers when they won the College World Series. I've never experienced anything like this. These players taking a victory lap after this championship was something I'll never forget. Going and connecting with the fans, there's Roman Harper. It really is a special bond. In words, I don't have the words to do it justice. It was just a tremendous feeling and a great show of pride in the connection that these players have with this team.
How important was the
city?
How important, guys, was the 12th man in tonight's victory?
Oh, I think it was, yeah, I think it was tremendous. Obviously, you know, definitely the fact that Minnesota had 5 turnovers, you could just tell they really couldn't get in a rhythm. They couldn't get things going like they had in their playoff game last week against Dallas, like they had in earlier games this season. So really, you have to believe that the 12th man, the fans, really creating all that noise, making them go on silent snap counts, and just disrupting their flow was a tremendous help.
It really was, and not only does it help on that side of the ball disrupting Minnesota, but it helps keep the players energized on the sidelines. You know that they get up for a championship game no matter what, but every now and then it helps to get a little boost, especially if you're playing from behind, even if it's only by 1 touchdown.
How do you think Tom Benson feels tonight compared to the way he was feeling when he lost the game against the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones was here jumping up and down on the sidelines, and of course Benson had to leave the game with his team losing. How do you think his feeling tonight compares to that feeling that he had when the team lost to Dallas?
Did you say Sean Payton, Norman? I'm sorry.
No, I said Tom Benson.
Tom Benson.
I think this is maybe, obviously I don't know Tom Benson all that well, but I'd have to say this is one of the greatest moments of his life. He bought this team in 1984, and they never had tremendous success. Only a handful of playoff appearances, only 2 playoff wins in the history of this franchise, and you're talking about 40-plus years. So I think that this has got to go down as one of the greatest days in the history of his life. I can't imagine what would possibly top this. Is you put so much time and energy and effort into it, and the fact that there was so much controversy and indecision back after Katrina is what are they going to do? Well, when the decision was made for the Saints to come back, the city has rallied around them, and he has invested even greater in this city, and so I think that as he has gotten older, he's wanted nothing more than a championship. Maybe it started off as a business at first, but probably now he wants nothing more than a championship.
Dr. Corey Hebert and his lovely fiancée Alana.
Just a few
And his brother there.
injuries, but guess what? The Saints win. You know why? Because we have heart. We've been through Katrina. We've been through all kinds of things, but guess what happened?
Katrina can't stop us.
Katrina can't stop us. Nothing can stop us.
Weather the storm.
Miami, you're not ready. Holla back.
Gotta love WDSU medical editor Corey Hebert. He said it all.
I don't know if that's an official medical opinion, but I like his opinion.
Hey guys,
I
want to talk.
And you know what?
Hey, I want to talk a little bit about the renovation. What this is going to mean for the renovation of the dome now and that entertainment complex that Benson's going to build down there. I mean, now with this win and with the Super Bowl hope, this is going to be awesome for us in the city.
Yeah,
And we're joined now by Saints GM Mickey Loomis, one of the happiest guys in this building because he built this team.
how nice is it when you're watching from the press box to see that this team that you put together, they're headed to the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history?
Well, you know, it's almost too much to comprehend and to take in, and gosh, I'm just so happy for, you know, the fans of our team that have been, you know, been with the team for so long. You know, obviously with us for, you know, last 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is. But boy, our city deserves this, and our team deserves this. You know, I'm proud of our guys, the way they held up. There's a lot of things that were going wrong, you know, that we could have folded up the tent, but they didn't do that, and that speaks to the resiliency of the guys that we have, the character of our guys, and our coaching staff, and you know, couldn't be happier, but I'm looking to be a little happier in 2 weeks.
What's going through your mind when you're watching a game like that? It's going back and forth, the shootout, and then you got a second-year kicker, Garrett Hartley, lining up for a 40-yard field goal to send this team to the Super Bowl. How much confidence did you have in him at that moment?
Well, look, you know, there's a lot of things can go wrong with an operation when you're kicking, you know, a field goal or an extra point. You got to have a good snap, a hold. Timing has to be right. Protection has to be right. But in terms of just the kick, him kicking it, I had, you know, 100% confidence that was going to, you know, be tried and true. And that kid's got a lot of grit to him. He's been through a lot in a short period of time, and he's been a great kicker for us. And you know, I think John Carney being with us for the last, you know, this season really. Right. And you know, even after we you know, waved him off our roster, him staying with us was important for him, for Garrett, and for our team. So that's, you know, I'm just happy for everyone in our building.
On the podium afterwards, Sean Payton says there's no one he would rather hand that trophy to than Drew Brees. Take us back a few years ago, the decision to bring Drew to New Orleans. How did you guys know at the time that he was just a leader for this team? And Drew even says it was almost a calling for him to come to New Orleans.
Well, you know, I think the leadership that he has and the ability that he has there was no question about any of that. The only question was, hey, how soon can he get healthy in terms of his shoulder? And all the rest of it we knew, we were confident in. I don't know that we knew he was this good a leader, and I don't know that we knew he was going to be this good a player, but we knew he was going to be really good, you know. So, and now he's great, not just good, he's great. And he's great for our team and great for our city. And you know, sometimes there's perfect matches, and that certainly is a perfect match for, you know, New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees, a perfect match.
Can you put into words the strides that Sean Payton has made since you hired him? Of course, he led y'all to the NFC Championship in 2006. Now you're going to the Super Bowl. He's one of the most successful coaches in franchise history. What has he been able to do to take this team to the next level like this?
Well, you know, I think there's so many variables here that you know, it's hard to define and point to one thing. You know, I think first of all, he's got great leadership, and the players believe in him, and you know, he's always genuine with the players. He always tells them what he means. He means what he tells them, and they can take that to the bank. And you know, besides the fact that he's you know, really good offensive, you know, minded coach, and I think he's one of the best play callers in the league, if not the best. Well, all those things being aside, overwhelmingly it's his leadership capability, and you know, I'm glad we've got him, and I'm proud that he's always willing to look at himself and say, hey, I need to get better in this area or that area. You know, he's never satisfied, and he's open to suggestions. He's open to you know, self evaluation.
Mickey, thanks for your time, and we'll see you in Miami. There's still one more to finish strong.
Absolutely. We're going to get right on that starting tomorrow.
Mickey, thanks for your time, and hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll send it.
It's incredible. You know, I've been here 4 years now, and you know, for everything to come together on this night for the city of New Orleans, it's incredible. I mean, this was the biggest game in Saints history, and for that to happen here in town with these fans, I couldn't be any happier. I really don't have many words right now. Still feel like I'm floating. It was an electric night, and I'll never forget it. I mean, I tried to take it all in. I came in 3 hours really just to walk around the field. I wanted to, you know, see the sights, get the smells of it, and it was pretty special.
Scott, can you talk about what we were just talking about? I mean, the significance of the Superdome specifically, especially with the last line of defense against Katrina, what happened in this building during the hurricane, and the fact that you guys were here in this building tonight winning this game.
it was just huge. You know, like I said, for me coming here 4 years ago, you know, basically I came the same day as Drew Brees, and all we hoped for was just to be able to field a football team. I mean, we had no idea what we had. Defensively, we had 2 linebackers that joined us, you know, the week before the first game that year. So there have been so many emotional ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster. But again, for everything to come together tonight the way it did, it just doesn't get any better. I mean, for me, this community means so much to me. The people have been so good to me since I first got here. They've been so good to me and my family. I mean, this is where my children were born. This is where I feel like my career was reborn. For me, it just doesn't get any better. Doesn't get any better.
And every team, I know players feel like they've got a special relationship with the city, but you've played in other, I mean, how different is the relationship between the team and the players here?
I've played some good football in some big football towns, Kansas City, Dallas, with great football fans. But the connection doesn't run any deeper than it does here in New Orleans. And the relationships I've made in these last 4 years with these people, again, it's, you know, I'm at a lack for words, but it's really indescribable. Just the people here are so great. You know, what they've been through has been incredible. You know, it's really, to all the people of New Orleans, we love you, we thank you, and I'm proud to be able to represent you in the Super Bowl. It's amazing.
Scott, talk about in games of this magnitude, it usually comes down to who wins the battle of turnovers. Well, y'all won that decidedly, but yet it still came down to overtime and 3 points.
That was a good team we beat tonight, and they know what they want to do on offense. They got a great defense. Brett Favre is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and Brett Favre is a great story, but the New Orleans Saints are a better story.
All right, thanks, Scott.
All right.
See the made kick? Jason told me you were turning around. You just got mobbed. What did you even see it?
No, I just knew whenever it came off my foot that, you know, it was going to split the pipes, and I just turned around and I guess put my hands up in the air and hugged Burnell, and just knowing that, you know, this team's headed to Miami now.
And considering your season, the way it's been up and down, for this to be one of your defining moments, I mean, it's got to be gratifying, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think as my short time being in the Saints uniform, this is definitely the most prolific time in my career. And definitely the season's been a roller coaster ride, you know, from everything from the beginning, the off season to, you know, and up to now.
I think Drew Brees told you after the Tampa Bay game we might need you to make another one later on. Did you think about that at all?
You know, if that may be, you know, the case, then, you know, let it just happen. But, you know, we're going to kind of just let this one soak in for a little bit and then get back to work whenever we meet again.
Were you even a little bit nervous?
Here's the funny thing is, last night I really couldn't sleep too well. I called my dad at 2:15 in the morning, and I said, Dad, I have a feeling I'm going to hit a game winner from 42 yards on the right hash, and I think I was off by about 2 yards. So it was funny, just the whole game, how things played out. And I just kept thinking about it. I'm like, is this really happening? It was kind of like Never Never Land. And sure enough, we go to OT and the ball's on the right hash at 40 yards. And, you know, it was just an amazing feeling.
What's your dad's name? And
Bill Hartley.
And what does he do?
East Texas. Yeah, I called him.
Anybody else?
Sorry, I missed the other things you were saying. Just how much were you feeling? How much did you feel? Everybody, were you getting like good vibes or whatever when you go out there?
You mean after the kick? Oh, before. You know, they kind of just leave me alone before. I think Hargrove tried to come over to the kicking net, and I kind of just pointed my finger like, no, leave me alone. Since he's the most, I would guess, comedic person on the team. Yeah, absolutely. There's, I guess, just times in everybody's career, everything's not going to be perfect. And honestly, for a while, when I went through my, I guess, my suspension to coming back, and then I had a game winner versus Washington, then you bounce back, and then I missed a 37-yarder versus Tampa. And, it's all a learning experience. I'm 23 years old, and I have a lot to learn. And just coming out here and knowing and trying to make, for my last mistake and knowing what I had to focus on and seeing myself and envisioning it was the most important, part about today.
Garrett, did Sean give you a little, before the kick, said he hit the fleur-de-lis right down the middle between the uprights? Is that what he said?
That's what he told me. I have no idea where the ball went, but apparently it went through the little yellow post. I'm not quite sure where, though.
When you called your dad in East Texas, what did he say to you when you told him your premonition?
Well, he actually kind of told me, first up, why are you calling me? Shouldn't you be sleeping? And after that, well, he just said, you know what to do. You've been doing it your whole life. And it's actually, it's a very surreal thing. I've never believed in stuff like that before, things. But this, it was fate for this team to head to Miami to play in the Super Bowl this year, and I'm just honestly honored to be a part of it and be a part of them. A great group of guys, and I just did one little roll out there today. They fought hard all game. I just had to do one play at the end.
Thank you, Garrett.
Real quick, and then we'll get back to the French court.
In a razor-thin game, you seem to provide the difference for the team. You ran 3 times in a row and got their second touchdown. You got your long return. You got the crucial 4th down. What do you feel like? Is this the best game you've ever been in?
I have to say absolutely. This was an exciting game, In the beginning, it was just going back and forth, Offense kept battling, both sides of the ball. Defense was, both sides of the ball, both teams was slowly, trying to get up there on the defense, trying to stop the offense, and sometimes it was back and forth with the defense stopping the offense. And, this game just came down to the end. And, we overcome, on this team. We knew what we had to do, keep working at it and keep drilling at this team and not give them any inch, not give them any room to make a play.
Pierre, I know you had to dream about this moment for a long time, from a few years ago when you fought to make this roster to today, when you're a part of history in the New Orleans Saints. Was the Dome about what you thought it would be when y'all won the NFC Championship?
Oh, definitely. Honestly, I thought I was going to see some fans run on the field. Honestly, I probably thought I was going to see a few fans run on the field, but I dreamed about winning, and just seeing the excitement on everybody's face. And I told myself, we win this, I'm shaking everybody's hand on that field, the fans. So I ran around the whole football field, the whole stadium, and shook almost everybody's hand that was in the stands.
Pierre, over here. 4th down play on the run that you dove over for the first down. Obviously, there was a lot riding on that first down, whether you got it or not. How nervous were you during the booth review?
I really wasn't nervous. I was more focused. I was just focused about, what I have to do, my reads, and just read my blocking, and holding on to that ball. I knew they was going to come down. They was going to try to bring everybody down in the hole, in the gap that we was running to. And the only thing I could tell myself, I might have to jump. And, I know I don't get too many hops. I don't have hops like Reggie and all of them, but, they told me that time I probably balled Reggie hops, just to get over them guys for the first. And, just for the coaches to call my name, for that 4th and 1. It really showed me that, they believe in me, and I want to go out here and, and prove an example that I can get this first down and I can be a big player on this team.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you.
Drew Brees' comments, boy, has he paid off over 4 years.
Drew, can you just describe, what you've been through 4 years and to cap it off tonight with this victory and what it means to you, the Superdome and everything?
Yeah, it's a pretty surreal moment, and words just can't describe the feeling, because you think back to 4 years ago, coming here post-Katrina, Sean Payton's first year, I'll remember forever the phone call that he gave me telling me that they wanted me to be their quarterback, and could never have imagined that things would have worked out the way that they have. But, you know, we had a goal and we had a dream back then, and it was to have this opportunity to go and play for a Super Bowl championship, and it feels great.
There were people who kind of left this city for dead and thought, you know what, it's not going to keep going. There shouldn't be a football team here. What does it mean to have this celebration going on in this city, in this building right now?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I think you can draw so many parallels between our team and our city, but, you know, in reality, we've had to lean on each other in order to survive and in order to get to where we are now. The city is on its way to recovery, and in a lot of ways has come back better than ever. For us as a team, we've used the strength and resiliency of our fans to, you know, go out and play every Sunday and play with the confidence to know that, you know, we can do it. We can achieve everything that we've set out to achieve, and it's been one step at a time, and it hasn't always been easy. We've had to fight through plenty of adversity, just like this city has. But, you know, when I look at what this year has meant thus far to this community, not only the regular season, but then being able to host 2 playoff games, what it did for this economy and what it did for the spirit of this city and these people, it's special. It's unbelievable.
Drew, talking about the spirit of the people, you saw what happened here in the Superdome when y'all won the game. Or you realized that y'all were the first time y'all have made Mardi Gras come 3 or 4 weeks early, that the French Quarter is now just a sea of people, as you would see just before the strike of midnight on Mardi Gras.
Yeah. Well, it's probably going to be nuts around here for a little bit, but that's expected, and we're excited about that. But, you know, it was as loud as I've ever heard it in the Dome today, and it seems like it only gets louder. But certainly, when you look at the weight of this game and what it meant for us to go out and get a victory today, we couldn't have done it without our fans. And certainly, it was an all-around team effort. But it feels so good to know that we've given our fans a championship, an NFC championship, and we've got another championship for them that we're going to be going after here in 2 weeks.
Drew, did you get a chance to talk to Favre after the game, and maybe you could talk a little bit about the kind of effort that he had tonight, coming back off the injury and fighting through the way he did?
Tell you what, he battled. I mean, he's a warrior, always has been, and he's a guy who's played for such a long time. I mean, I remember watching him when I was in middle school, and so to think that here I am now, you know, 9 years into my career playing against him in an NFC championship game, you know, the guy is, you know, he's unbelievable, and he battled. He's a competitor. He always fights to the end, and he gave such a great effort. Their entire team did. I mean, this was a hard-fought game, and I'm just glad we came out on the winning end.
Drew, you guys came out and played pretty well in the first half, but in the second half, you seemed to be a little bit off rhythm. What did they do defensively to kind of create some problems for you guys?
You know, I felt like, you know, I got to give a lot of credit to them because they played very well defensively. You know, it seemed like we were just this far off on a couple big plays in the passing game, you know, whether it be just, you know, right off a guy's fingertips or whatever. You know, we missed a couple third down conversions by inches. We, you know, had a couple penalties that we shouldn't have had, and, you know, way too many 3-and-outs. You know, that's something that stands out, is that, you know, we didn't possess the ball. We didn't, you know, I felt like when we got the first down or 2 first downs into it, we were going right down the field and scoring. And I say all our scoring drives kind of happened that way, but there was way too many times where we just couldn't get anything going, and all of a sudden we're having to punt the ball and put our defense back on the field. You know, we left our defense out there entirely too long, but, you know, what kept us in the game was their ability to, you know, get some turnovers at some critical times, and obviously that's the most telling statistic in football. It always is. You know, you win the turnover battle, your chances of winning go way up.
Drew, Sean has you guys coming in early again tomorrow morning. Brett Favre down, now you've got Peyton Manning across the field. Can you talk about just sort of turning around and facing that?
It doesn't get any easier. And obviously we know the type of team that the Colts are, the type of organization that they are and have been now for a long time. I mean, they're a dynasty in their own right. And you know, the season that they've had and the season that we've had, I can think of no two better teams to be facing off in the Super Bowl. And you know, I know there's going to be a lot of storylines, obviously Peyton being from New Orleans and all those things, but you know, the fact is there's two great teams that are going to be playing 2 Sundays from now, and it should be a heck of a game.
When you look at the quarterbacks, you've had to stare across the field at Kurt Warner, Brett Favre, and now Peyton Manning. What do you think about that?
Well, you're talking three.
It's hard to come up here and really talk about the significance of this group of guys in that locker room and the significance of this win. I'm proud of them, proud of our fans and the hard work that they put in to get us to this spot, and it's a pretty special feeling. So, any questions right now?
Sean, 2 questions. First, your feelings on your position right now, and second, your thoughts on how your defense played today. They bailed you out a few times.
They sure did. You know, there was a lot of momentum shifts in that game. Just after the game ended, you know, I had a chance to visit with Favre for about 5 minutes, and I've never seen 2 quarterbacks compete, 2 defenses kind of hang in there, the offensive lines. I mean, I tip my hat to Minnesota. I thought you had two teams that played their hearts out, and glad we were able to win, and I'm proud of just having a chance to coach these guys in a game like this. Garrett hit a big kick, obviously, for us, and you know, we just kept fighting. The momentum shifted back and forth, and we just kept battling, and you know, it was a heck of a game. I just told him there's a little fleur-de-lis up there right between both uprights, and I said, why don't you see if you can hit this fleur-de-lis dead center, and you know, you belong, you're here for a reason. And you know, he hit it true, and he's just been real consistent for us, and you know, obviously it was a big kick. You know, obviously it's a great defense we played, a great run front we played, and you know, we ran behind those 2 guards, the tackles. Goodwin and Pierre did a great job of just getting the 1.5 yards we needed. It's significant.
How about this start? Touchdown, Saints.
Back there, you know, that thing went back and forth. The game went back and forth, and you know, I'm glad we came out on the winning end.
Coach, talk about Pierre Thomas overall. Like a close game, did he provide the margin for you?
Well, he played hard. You know, he battled. You know, I know this. We came up with the turnover margin, I think pretty significant, 4-1, 5-1. And credit Minnesota, really, 5-1 and to win by a field goal. You know, that's unusual. And like I said, the one specific play, though, I'm struggling with.
Sean, can you talk about your defense overall? I mean, you guys made a lot of key stops.
We did. You know, I thought the one thing significantly were the turnovers, John. You guys wrote about a lot of it last week, and I think you were accurate. You know, that there's times when we've given up some yardage, but when you look at the takeaways now and the ones we got, I thought the one right at the end of the half was significant. You know, 50-some seconds left, and you know, I know it wasn't a clean exchange, but really when you go back and look at the tape, there was probably 3 or 4 others that we almost were able to recover, and we just weren't able to. And the guys kept fighting. You know, we had some tough calls go against us that were frustrating. But as far as the takeaways were concerned, I ultimately that had a lot to do with the way this game ended.
Coach Sean Payton, and Rob Ennis has Reggie Bush.
Experience, help coming to this game, and that you have home field advantage in the NFC Championship game. First time it's ever played here live in New Orleans.
You know what? You know, I mean, obviously, you know, that game, and it was tough for us. It was a tough loss for us because it was our first year, and we felt like it was going to be so magical to go to the Super Bowl, you know, the year after Katrina. But obviously it didn't happen for us. But nevertheless, I think one of the most important things that I took away from that is experience, one, but the fact that the city of New Orleans was, once we landed, like 3 or 4 in the morning, was there cheering for us as if we had won the game. Sure. And, you know, that just kind of showed us, you know, the type of support, the type of, you know, fan base we have here. And you know, from that, you know, from day one, we've always wanted to win this thing for the city of New Orleans. And you know, here we are. a couple years later, and now we're going to the Super Bowl, and it feels good.
I know we mentioned about the hat a little bit, but a little bit more. I mean, you're sporting an NFC Champions hat. I mean, all the blood, sweat, and tears that you guys from training camp, from training camp all the way here. I mean, how good does that feel? Hey, we're representing the NFC and the ultimate show on earth.
You know what? It feels so good. You know, and it's such a special, you know, time. You know, for us, for the city of New Orleans. It really hasn't even I really haven't grasped it yet, just because of, you know, all the interviews I've been doing, and, you know, but. You know, I think in a few days, or once we land in Miami, and you know, it'll really hit us. And you know, it's so special to be able to do this for the city of New Orleans after all they've endured, Hurricane Katrina. You know, it's so special for us.
And you scored that big touchdown to put you guys up 28-21. They had to challenge it, review the play. Take us through the play. You fell on the pylon. At the point, did you say, "Hey, I know it's a touchdown"?
You know what? Once I hit the pylon, I looked up and hit the pylon. I was like, you know, I thought it could be possibly a touchdown, but when I seen the Vikings, they were signaling no, and then the ref signaled no. I was like, well, maybe my knee must have hit or something, and I wasn't 100% sure. But I knew that, hey, I hit the pylon, so I have a shot.
Right.
Once they reviewed it and we saw the replay, the whole stadium knew it was a touchdown. Whether you were a Vikings fan or not, a Saints fan or not, you know, the whole stadium knew it was a touchdown. And you know, it was a key play for us to just keep us alive, you know, because it was such an up and down game. It kept us alive and gave us a chance.
Was there any doubt during this game that, hey, we're going to pull it out when it's going back and forth like that, and you got Brett Favre on the other sideline?
Yeah, you know what? When they had the ball, that last minute and a half of the game, you know, I was like, you know, you know, anybody else in the world, I would rather be on that offense right now, leading that team, than Brett Favre. You know, any other quarterback.
Right.
You know, so obviously there's a little bit of doubt in your mind, but you know what? It was fate. You know, it was fate for the city of New Orleans, for the New Orleans Saints, and there's no other place, no other city I'd rather have accomplished this goal for.
The motto of this team is to finish strong.
Yes.
You still got one more. You go into Miami, and you happen to play Peyton Manning and the Colts.
Yeah.
The challenge of going up against the Colts and what they've been able to do as a franchise.
You know what? You know, well, we played them 2 years ago, and they beat the mess out of us. So, you know, that's still in the back of my mind, and, you know, I still remember, you know, that game, and I had a bad game, and, you know, that was just one of those games where you just wanted to forget quickly. And I'm sorry, I'm like cramping up right now.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
You need to take a break?
Yeah, I'm all right. But you know what? Peyton Manning is, you know, he maybe the best quarterback. You know, obviously, I'm going to be a little biased because I play with Drew Brees. I think he's the best. But, you know, Peyton Manning is pretty damn good. He has 3 or 4 MVPs, Super Bowl ring, and you know what? We're going to have our hands full with this guy and that team because they have a damn good team.
We know how much you're going to be on Twitter. What's your tweet's going to be tonight?
Who dat?
Who dat?
That's it. 2 words. Who dat?
There you go. That's Reggie Bush. Reggie, thanks for your time. We'll see you in Miami.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Let's go out to the field with John Henry Smith, who is live with defensive tackle Cedric Ellis.
Well, from one USC Trojan to another, Cedric Ellis, soon to be Super Bowl participant. Cedric Ellis, how you doing and how you feeling right about now? Is this everything you thought it would be?
And a little bit more, man. I've never been a part of anything, you know, quite so spectacular, and I'm just kind of like enjoying the ride, man.
And yet you were telling me just off camera a minute ago that, hey, if you had gone to a smaller school, maybe you would be feeling a little more starstruck right now, but given the fact that you went to a big college program like USC, you're taking this a little more in stride.
Well, I think it gives you the preparation to play on big scenes and big stages, without being so nervous. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a huge stage, and I just felt like I had the stepping stones to be able to play big in this game.
And I would definitely say that you are many things. Nervous you are not. Look at him, not a bead of sweat on that forehead. So let's talk about today's game. You know, in many ways, today's game with the Minnesota Vikings played out the way it seemed to would play out on paper. The Vikings get the yards, but the New Orleans Saints, that defense gets the turnovers. And that's they kept the New Orleans Saints under 200 yards passing. They kept Drew Brees' offense and Pierre Thomas under 100 yards rushing. But 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions. The Saints got the turnovers and won the game.
Well, I think if you look at the whole season, Figure it out.
They're all Super Bowl men, about to go to Miami to play in the Super Bowl. Cedric Ellis, congratulations. We're really happy for you. All right, now. So now,
Saints all-time leading rusher Deuce McAllister, who had the privilege to present the Saints with the George Halas Trophy, standing on that podium. What was that moment like to you to hand over that championship trophy for the NFC?
It was definitely bittersweet, you know, just you know, the down times and just to be able to experience, you know, just the upper, you know, echelon, the pinnacle, to reach the Super Bowl, not only for my teammates and this team, but for the city of New Orleans. Congratulations.
What about for the second straight game? You're an honorary team captain. You get to lead the team on the field and hear all those chants of Deuce. What does that mean to you, and how special is that moment?
Well, you can't put it into words, you know, how special and what it really means. I mean, because just to know that you're still a part of it, and just to know, you know, that you went through the ups and downs with it, and then to be thought enough to be brought back to be a part of this run that we're making, you know, it's super special for me.
How much do you really feel a part of it, though, when you're on the sidelines, you know, and the offense is coming off and you're saying, hey, I saw that in the defense, maybe you should try to do that. How much do you really feel like you're part of the game at that point?
Well, I mean, I definitely feel a part of, you know, just helping those guys out, you know, just helping them during the week and, you know, just breaking down film and looking at different things and, you know, and just to be an extra pair of eyes for them on the sideline and just to, you know, tell them to look out for this is what I'm seeing. I mean, because things are moving so fast. You know, I'm excited and I'm so proud of them.
Are you surprised this team is having so much success? I mean, did you see that during the offseason when you were training with them?
Well, you could definitely see it. I mean, it's always been there. You know, you just maybe a play or two away and, you know, just able to make that play this year. So, I mean, that's what you're so extremely proud of it. And everything is coming together. You know, this is a time that we can definitely enjoy.
Did you ever think you'd see the day when the Saints are going to the Super Bowl?
You gotta. I mean, you gotta. I mean, it's a dream, you know, and we're living the dream, and you're excited about it.
Do you plan on going to Miami? Obviously, you're going to be a part of it. What's that going to be like? Have you thought of that?
I'll be there. You know, we'll take this all. We'll take it all in. You know, you enjoy this moment. You take this in, and you know, you'll start focusing on the coaching and do enough time. But you know, we're going to Miami. We're NFC champs, so that's what's important.
Deuce McAllister, always a class act. We appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you,
guys. We'll send it back to you.
I'm here with Saints cornerback Jabari Greer. And Jabari, first and foremost, NFC Championship game comes down to the last second. What's going through your mind as Garrett kicks that field goal?
Well, I mean, I guess it's the accumulation of a lot of hard work, and to come down to you know, a single play. You know, it was amazing. It was just a testament to our team's perseverance, to our leadership, and to our will. I think that we got the right mix in this locker room to make something like that happen.
Talk about the ebb and flow of this game. There was any time one team would kind of gain a little momentum, the other one would get it right back. I mean, how fun is it and how challenging is it to play in a game like that?
Well, this is the championship game, and I mean, we wouldn't expect anything else. You know, these guys, they're a very good team, and you know, they came to play. So did we, and it was, I mean, it showed. It was a game that I believe we played on the ESPN Classic for a long time.
Talk about going up against a guy like Brett Favre. Obviously, he's a guy that's been around, knows the game. He's a warrior. But to have to advance to the Super Bowl going through one of the best of all time.
Well, I mean, that's the type of game we play. You know, you have to rise up and capitalize no matter who you're playing, and it's been fun. You know, no matter who's back there, you have to step up and make a play. So fortunately, we were able to do that today. You know, it's fun to get to play against guys that you watch on TV and you know, are idolized through the media. And I mean, he's had a terrific career. He's been somebody that's been synonymous with the game of football, and he's definitely changed the game. So fortunately, we're able to get a win today. But you know, he's still had a great career.
You know, if you ask anyone from the first day of training camp, the first thing we all noticed covering this team basically is the turnovers. You guys ripping up the ball after every play, and it's kind of fitting that's what really put you guys over the hump tonight.
We were able to do that. You know, we had some key turnovers. We left some out there on the field, but we were able to get just enough to impact the game. So, you know, Tracy had a big one at the end. You know, Vilma had two. Remy had one. I mean, it was just the name of the game, creating turnovers, creating opportunities for our offense, and we were able to capitalize and go out there and make something happen.
You know, it's true they say football is a game of inches. From Reggie's touchdown that was had to be challenged to get in, from Pierre's fourth down conversion. It's just in a game so evenly matched. Sometimes it comes down to a couple inches.
It is, and it has. It's a hard-fought game. You know, I don't believe anybody has anything left in their tank today. I think we gave it all for each other, all for this team, and all for the city of New Orleans. So, you know, we have something that we can lay our head down on our pillow and be proud of tonight. You know, it's a big step for us, but we realize that there's a big goal out there, and we're going to work hard to go out there and get it.
Jabari, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good luck, Miami. In the Saints locker room now with linebacker Scott Shanley. And Scott, if you ask anyone that has been covering this team from training camp on, they said the one thing that probably stood out most about you guys on defense was the turnovers, the ball hawking, and I guess it's kind of fitting that that was what put you guys over the edge tonight.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the year, people kind of wanted to look at our defense and look at, you know, where we were ranked total yards or where we were ranked rush defense or pass defense. But to us, our number one goal was turnovers. And, you know, we did that well throughout the year, and it played huge dividends in the playoffs. I mean, if we get the ball back and give it to our offense, we'll have a chance to win a lot of games.
You guys ended up +4 in the turnover margin, but there was a few that hit the turf you guys weren't able to get. I know you came close on one. What happened on that play?
I just bent down to scoop and score, and I think there were a couple guys laying down who were trying to grab it and pull it back in. And as I reached down, I think someone grabbed it or tried to grab it and just tipped it out, and then it just became a free-for-all after that, and tried to jump back on it and couldn't get it. But you know, there were a lot of other guys in the game who made up for that play. And I mean, realistically, I mean, we could have came away with 8 turnovers, but a win's a win. We'll take it.
Hey, and you'll have some time to digest this in the coming days, obviously, but I'm curious, as you're playing a game like that, do you kind of get a sense that this is a classic we have going right now?
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like it was just both teams trying to impose their will, and it's one of those games where, you know, if you lose, you're going home and you got to watch whoever you lose to play in a couple weeks. And we just get to the point in the game where at the end of the game when they have 12 guys in the huddle, stuff like that doesn't happen in NFC Championship games. I'm just sitting there thinking, this has got to be our year for something like that to happen. And then Tracy made a great play, and we get the ball in overtime. And after that play, with a penalty, everything just fell in place.
You know, you talk about that play, the 12 men in the huddle. You talk about Pierre Thomas's fourth down conversion. You know, Robert Meacham's catch, and then Reggie's touchdown had to be reviewed and overturned. I mean, in a game so evenly matched, sometimes it comes down to a game of inches.
That's right. I mean, you're defending every blade of grass, realistically, especially in an NFC Championship game. And both teams made huge plays, and just we made more plays when it counted, is what it came down to.
You know, you could tell by watching the game, but I mean, walk away, do you feel a sense of pride knowing you guys gave absolutely every ounce of everything you guys had for this game?
Absolutely. I mean, the same thing last week. There's a chemistry and a bond on this team, offensively, defensively, all the guys in special teams, and the coaches too. I mean, all the work that we put into, we know way back in June, July, training camp, we know that this is why. Moments like this are the reason why we try to outwork everybody in the NFL.
And, you know, you've been in New Orleans since 2006, and I grew up here. A lot of media, they grew up here. And if you ask a lot of people, honestly, they would tell you they never thought they would ever have seen this day. I mean, I'm curious how that makes you feel as a player to be able to give them that.
It feels great. I mean, you know, I said way back in August at our team luncheon, I said that we were going to try to bring a world championship to the city of New Orleans, because there's no city or organization that deserves a world championship more than this city and organization, and we're one step away from doing that. So it feels great to be able to do that.
And at least the challenge gets a little bit easier. Next game, you got Peyton Manning instead of Brett Favre.
You know, if you want to be great, you got to beat the great ones, and you start with Kurt Warner, Brett Favre, and now Peyton Manning. I mean, potentially we have to beat 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. And you don't want it any different. You want to beat the great players.
All right, Scott. Best of luck in Miami. Appreciate it. Linebacker Scott.
You know what? For anybody who thinks we earned this win today, they couldn't have been watching the same game we were. You know, this is one of the toughest games I think I've played in to date. And I'm not just saying that because we won and we're going to the Super Bowl. But this was such an up and down game. This was a roller coaster game. You know, it seemed like no call was going our way, you know, for 99% of that game, and then finally we got a few calls to go our way towards the end, and
with all I mean, they must have had like 8 fumbles, and I felt like they got 7 of them back, but it's just one of those games, man, where you can never give up because you don't know what's going to happen. Jimmy Johnson came and spoke to our team, towards the end of the week, and he told us, you can't prepare for one thing because you never know what's going to happen in these types of games. All you can do is try to prepare yourself for everything and just take it as it comes. Whatever happens in the game, just take it for what it is and try to, do whatever you can to win the game. And like I said, with all the things that happened in this game today, it was just such an emotional game, for us.
Hey, could you talk about also the decision to try to catch the punt that you fumbled, and then the way you were able to bounce back from making plays?
You know what? I knew their punter wasn't going to give me too many balls to return, and I felt like that punt. When I saw him hit it, I felt like he kind of shortchanged it. But I guess one of their guys, got down the field fast enough to disrupt me catching the ball. And once I caught it, once I seen it, I thought I had enough space to make a move, and obviously I didn't. And it's a gut-wrenching feeling, when that happens. And I don't care what game you're playing in. It can be a preseason game. It's still a gut-wrenching feeling. And it's true that this is a team game, and it takes all 53 guys to win this game. And it took us every inch, every player on this team to win this game today.
Reggie, were you surprised that y'all won the turnover ratio decidedly, but still only won the game by 3 points?
Yeah, you know what? One of the things that we preach all the time is turnovers, and turnovers are one of the key statistics in winning games. And with all the turnovers that they had and fumbles, like I said earlier, it felt like I felt like they had 1,000 fumbles, and like they got all of them back, and they were scoring points off of it, and it was like, God dang, if we could just get one of those, and we ended up getting some turnovers that were key in this victory. And unfortunately, we weren't able to produce as many points as we would have liked to off of those, some of those turnovers. But nevertheless, here we are with the W, going to the Super Bowl, and we're one step closer to our goal.
What'd you think of how y'all's defense played tonight?
You know what? Without our defense, to me, it was the main reason why we're here, why we're going to the Super Bowl. The way they played today, with all the BS that they've taken, throughout the season, and especially towards the end of the season, they played like absolute monsters today. And with all the turnovers that they forced today, it just words can't describe, the way they played. And obviously they're the reason why we're here. But through our game planning this week, we preach ball security because the Minnesota Vikings had actually forced a lot of turnovers, especially fumbles this year. I think they led the league in forced fumbles. So we were obviously very well aware of that, and we tried to do our part. And it just so happened that, we got all the turnovers.
Thanks, Reggie.
All right.
Every big moment in Louisiana sports history you're a part of, Devery. 2006, 2003, and now this.
I'm not complaining either. It's just been a blessing, man. And my career is, it's just been a blessing. I think for any guy, and I just stay humble and thank the good Lord, and hopefully, more great things will happen for me.
You'll have some time to digest this in the coming days, I'm sure, but that was a classic you guys played out there.
Yeah, it was. Anytime you have a big game like that, with the close game and going into overtime, it's always, great, especially to be on the winning end of it.
I'm curious, where were you positioned when Garrett was about to kick the field goal?
I was on one knee on the sidelines, and when he kicked it, I knew it was going in. I think I jumped from the sidelines all the way to the numbers. But, Garrett did a great job, and he was put in a position to be the hero, and he took advantage of it. And, he's probably going to remember that for the rest of his life.
Did they do anything offensively or defensively to knock you guys off rhythm? Because I know for